welcome everyone to another episode of Kindling the Hearthfire. Nice to be back after a very, very long hiatus. Thank you everyone for continuing to support the podcast either on Patreon or on Facebook. This is a Patreon supported podcast, and we're going to give a sliding scale a try this time around, meaning that all the props are going to be available whether you can give $1 a month or $20. Whatever you can give whenever, whether it be monthly or just a one-time thing, will be good. And very, very grateful. Okay, that's over with. I hope everyone had a great time this year at their Autumnal Equinox or Mabon celebrations. I know our grove, Proto-Grove of the, what was it? Proto-Grove of the, it's an oak of some kind. Where's my mind? Proto-Grove of the Living Oak, is it? Loving Oak? What is it? Chimney Crickets. I can't think of the name. Valley Oak. That's what it is. Valley Oak. That's it. Proto-Grove of the Valley Oak here in California, Bay Area. Good Lord. My mind. That's where I'm at right now. My mind is just gone. Welcome everyone to another episode of Kindling the Hearthfire. This is a Patreon supported podcast, and we're trying to do a sliding scale this time around, meaning that all the props and extras will be available whether you can give $1 a month or $20 rather than having tiers, because we saw how that worked out. But anyway, I hope everyone has had a great time this time of year at their rituals, or whether they're solitaire or whatever they did this time of year. I know my Proto-Grove had a great ritual. It was both online and in person over at Ortega Park, I believe where it was at. I was unable to go because I was on the phone with the towing company because I got a flat tire on my way over. So I had to do another ritual later on that evening, which was nice as solitary. That was great. I had a really wonderful time. I made some soda bread, and I will be sharing the recipe later on in the episode. I hope everyone had a great time. And the weather was actually a real improvement over last year and the last couple days, actually. I mean, down here in the Bay Area, it's been like 109 degrees a couple times this week, and we were nice enough to have it be just in the high 70s, 75. I think it was a little warm, but it was not 109, thank goodness. All right, well, on to the rest of the podcast. All right. Usually, I would talk a little bit about traditions surrounding the autumnal equinox itself. Usually I would stick to the Irish traditions because that's the ones I am mostly familiar with, and my own hearth culture. But as that's what I talked about last time we spoke, this time last year, and I don't want to really bore you with repeats, I would like to take this time to talk about some deities. I personally am a very deity-oriented pagan, but I know not everyone is. There's so many deities across multiple cultures to choose from, but let's start with one that I know many of you have heard about and one I'm fairly familiar with as well, being as she comes from my hearth culture, the Irish hearth culture, and her name is, if you haven't guessed it already, it's Bridget. She's Bridget. I'm going to be talking about her based on what is found in the lore of ancient Ireland. Let me see if I can bring up a list of those. She is found a lot in Cormac's Glossary, which was written by Christian scribes in the 9th century. And she was also written about in the Book of Invasions as well, and several other writings about the Battle of Moytura, Both battles, actually. The first battle is what we're going to be focusing on this time around. But there is quite a lot of lore about her in Ireland itself, but she also can be found in many iterations among other health cultures, though we will be focusing on Ireland, of course. And she's written about in lots of lore, and also she's a very popular deity all around the world, even into modern day. And yeah, and if you want to look up on Wikipedia, I know everybody hates Wikipedia, but it's actually a really great source for sources. Because there's a lot of citations and a lot of articles that you can point you in right directions if you're just starting to do your research. And the page on Bridget is no exception to this. Okay, let's see. Bridget's name in particular there's been some thought on it being not really a personal name, but it is a title, considering it means exalted one in the older Irish. It can be that same thing could be said of the Morrigan as well. There are same connotations there too. Its meaning is Phantom Queen in particular. Might be a title rather than a personal name, and many goddesses have been under either title, either Bridget or the Morrigan. We're not talking about the Morrigan. That's a whole other topic. But Bridget herself means the exalted one from the Old Irish. And there are several spellings and pronunciations of her name, even just in Ireland. There's Bridget, Brigit, or Brig. They are goddesses of pre-Christian Ireland. Lots of lore about all of them. In many parts of Ireland. She also appears in Irish mythology as a member of the Tuatha De Danann, the daughter of the Dagda and the wife of Bres, with whom she had a son named Radan. And by the way, these pronunciations, if you want to look them up and find the correct pronunciations, I'm doing the best I can with them. Please don't come after me for the butchering of them, because I'm trying my best here. She is associated with wisdom, poetry, healing, protection, blacksmithing, and domesticated animals. But as in the case with many Irish deities, she's a very well-rounded goddess, and my personal take on her, she's very practical. And as with many Irish deities, it isn't like the Roman or the Greek deities where they have a particular bailiwick or wheelhouse or specialty that they go with. They can pretty much do most of anything that you ask of them. It just depends on your relationship with them, and that's a personal idea, but also I see it a lot in the lore. But anyway, this particular deity, she's associated with many, many, many things. In Cormac's glossary, which was again written in the 9th century by Christian monks, says that Bridget was the goddess of whom poets adored, and that she had 2 sisters, Bridget the Healer and Bridget the Smith. There's a suggestion here that she was a triple goddess, once again another mirroring of the Morrigan as well, because the Morrigan has 2 other sisters as well as Bridget. And a convention that I think is interesting is that all of Bridget's sisters are in fact named Bridget. And this suggests she may have been a triple deity. She is also thought to have some relation to the British goddess Brigantia, the one of Britain. Saint Bridget shares many of the goddess attributes and also her feast day, the 1st and 2nd of February. And it was originally a pagan festival of Imbolc, as is the wheel of the year, on the 1st of spring. In Cormac's glossary, and based on earlier sources, it says that Bridget was a goddess and a daughter of the Dagda. It describes her as a goddess of poets and a woman of wisdom or sage. who is also famous for her protecting care. It says that Bridget has two sisters, as mentioned before, Bridget the physician, or woman of healing, and Bridget the smith. It explains that these, all goddesses in Ireland are called Bridget, suggesting that it may have been more of a title than a personal name. The Book of Invasions also calls Bridget a poetess and a daughter of the Dogda. It says she has two oxen, from whom are named the plain of the River Barrow and the plain of the River Suir. And these are actual places in Ireland. There's a lot of place names in the Book of Invasions. The River Suir is a river in Ireland that flows into the Atlantic Ocean through Waterford. I've been on that river. I've seen it. Beautiful river. And it travels a distance of about 150 miles. And let's see, the River Barrow is also a river in Ireland, of course. It is one of the three sisters, the other two being the River Suir and the River Nor. The Barrow is the longest of the three rivers, and it is 120 miles long. And it is the second longest river in Ireland, right behind the River Shannon. And I've been on the River Shannon. That is a huge river. If you've ever walked across it, is River Shannon the one that does it? It basically has a whole town. It's situated in the middle of the river on a bridge. So a whole town can fit inside this river with a little bit of room on either side. So that's how big the River Shannon is. It's quite large. Correct me if I'm incorrect about that. But I found it quite large when I visited. Okay, elsewhere, these are named as the two oxen of Deal, Radiant Beauty, which may be a byname for Bridget. There's a lot of theories there, and it also says that she possesses the King of Boars and the King of Weathers. The animals were said to cry out whenever plundering was committed in Ireland. Apparently this suggests Bridget was the guardian goddess of domesticated animals. In the Battle of Moytira, Bridget is the wife of Bress and bears him a son. It says she began the custom of keening, a combination of wailing and of singing, while mourning the death of him. She is credited in the same passage with inventing a whistle used for night travel. In her English retellings of Irish myth, Lady Augusta Gregory, the translations of the Irish myth done by her, describes Bridget as a woman of poetry, and poets worshipped her, for her sway was very great and very noble. And she was a woman of healing along with that, and a woman of smith's work, and it was she first made the whistle for calling one to another through the night. And I could go on saying her connections with Bridget and Saint Bridget, but I'm going to let let you do your own research on that, because there's a lot out there, and lots of translations, lots of writings about it. The Battle of Moytira is a good source for her. The Book of Invasions also mentions her, Cormac's Dictionary. And you also have a couple of books, modern books actually, by Morgan Daimler. They are a wonderful author, and if you want some really good modern translations of Old Irish, go check them out. They're also available on YouTube. Look up Morgan Daimler, and you can find them on YouTube as well. And another author you can look up is what are their names? Laura O'Brien, as well, is they live in Ireland and are a native of Ireland, and they are a wonderful source for much of the information that I found about Bridget and many other deities, especially in the Irish pantheon. So All right. Lots of information there. If you want to take a look at those particular sources, you can do your own research and find a lot of information and make up your own mind on whether or not you want to have a conversation with this deity or a conversation relationship with this deity. All right. So that was a very brief introduction to the goddess Brigid. So, all right. Thank you for listening. And everything will be available in the show notes, all the sources and things of that nature, and the websites, web pages, books, and all that good stuff will be available in the show notes. All right. Start a new recording. Okay. This next bit is a simple recipe that I found while searching for something easy to bring to next ritual. Sadly, I wasn't able to bring it, but I was able to eat it, and it's a lovely recipe. It's really easy to do. It's a little bit different than a lot of soda bread recipes that I'm used to doing. One of which I actually learned from my mother back in way back in elementary school, and I brought it to my 5th grade class because we were doing a cultural exchange kind of thing. And this is one of the first recipes I actually made with my mother, and it's a quick bread recipe. And this particular recipe that I found it's a nice, easy soda bread that takes almost no prep and very little cooking, but tastes lovely for all its simplicity, and will fit right in with a picnic on a late summer day. Or even later on in the year, you can use it. It's very deeply flavored. And it's a quick bread loaf made with one of your favorite stout if you have one. It's also a perfect accompaniment for a hearty stew. It's very versatile in that way. You can have it on its own with just some butter while it's warm, or you can have it with stew and dip it in the stew and things like that. And it's lovely. Mouth watering just thinking about it. Okay, and this particular recipe that I found on the internet, and the link will be in the show notes as well. And the person that wrote it is Renee Rendell. And it takes about 15 minutes to prep, 30 minutes to cook it, so about 45 minutes total. And it's also considered vegetarian, oddly enough. Didn't think about that. Alright, so the ingredients you're going to need for this particular loaf, you're going to be needing 3 1/3 cup whole wheat flour, or the flour of your choice, whatever. 1 1/4 cup old-fashioned oats, 2 teaspoons coarse salt, 2 teaspoons baking soda, 1 1/4 cup Guinness or a stout beer, or the beer of your choice, 7/8 container of plain yogurt, 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, and 1/4 cup of honey. And what you're going to do is you're going to preheat your oven to 425 degrees and spray the 9-inch loaf pan with some non-stick spray. In a medium mixing bowl, you're going to combine the wheat flour, the oats, all the dry ingredients, the salt, the baking soda, and give everything a quick stir to make sure the ingredients are well combined. Set that aside. Then in another small bowl or jug, whisk together the Guinness, the yogurt, vegetable oil, and the honey, all the wet ingredients. And you're going to be pouring the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients and stirring together with a wooden spoon. Once it's well combined, dump the mixture into your loaf pan and sprinkle with a few more oats on top for good measure. 2 fat pinches should suffice. Then you put it in the oven and bake it for 45 minutes or until a toothpick inserted in the center of the loaf comes out clean. Slice thin and serve with plenty of butter. This is a lovely quick bread recipe. Take it home, do it with it as you will. It's lovely, and have fun with it. And the page that I found it on, it's also got many other recipes. How many recipes actually does it have on here? I believe it has 20 different recipes that you can use to celebrate the autumnal equinox, or they call it Mabon. So here you go. having. Anyway, so enjoy that recipe and let me know how it goes. I thought it was lovely, and I hope you enjoy it. And next up, we have the social calendar for the next month and a half or 2 months here. Not a lot going on this time of year, oddly enough. So our next event or festival we've got coming up is the Harvest Nights Gathering. And it's going to be the October 7th through 9th. And it is an ADF festival in Andover, Connecticut. And it's hosted by the Charter Oak Grove. And to register and see more information about this particular festival, you go to charteroakadf.org/harvest-nights. And once again, all the links and stuff is going to be in the show notes. So just click on the link down there and you'll be able to find more information. And you're just in time to register. I think the registration is still open at this point, but it's coming up in like the next week or two. Okay, and the next up that we have is the Rocky Mountain Retreat, and it's going to be on October 14th through the 16th, and it's hosted by Choke Cherry Grove, also an ADF Grove, and once again, they've got a website you can register, which will be in the show notes for you. It's you can find it on their website, the chokecherryadf.org website. And once again, the link's a little long, so I'll be posting that in the show notes, and you can get a hold of that and get more information. All right, and another event that's coming up, it's not really an event, it's more, it's a challenge that was started by Reverend Jana Vende to write one prayer each day during the month of November. The prayers can be on any topic or to any deity, spirit, or what have you. We use the hashtag prayer a day and hashtag ADF Druidry, all one word, so that people can find the prayers, whether you post them on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, or your own social media of choice. And the associated Facebook group, what is that called? Let me click the link here and let me see if I can go to it and see what it's going. Yeah, it's called the Prayer a Day Project. And I'm looking at it here. It is a Facebook group. I believe it's a public group. What's it doing here? Yeah, it's my computer being odd. Anyway, but I'll go ahead and follow the group. Let's see, as me? Yes, as me. I'll follow it as me. So it's the Prayer Group Project. And you have to agree to the rules, which is, yeah, they're pretty reasonable here. It's a challenge started by Reverend Jana Vende to write one prayer each day during the month of November. And all the prayers on here are lovely. They've got lots of really great visuals here. If you want to take a look, it's called the Prayer a Day Project. They do it every year. And let's see, and lots of pictures, it's very accessible. So if you're sight impaired or all that good stuff, they have text versions of the pictures with the prayers on them. And there's lots of lovely stuff on there, so you can go ahead and check that out. The link will be in the show notes, and that's coming up starting on November 1st. And whether or not you're participating or not on Facebook doesn't really matter. It's pretty much on every social media place you can think of. There's Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, whatever social media of your choice. You can participate in that or just take a look and see what's going on with the group. All right, so those are the events that are happening in the next month and a half. If you have any events that you would like seen on the podcast, do let me know. And you can email us at, let's see, where should you email this? Kindling the Hearthfire at gmail.com, all one word. And if you have anything to contribute, comments you want to say, that kind of thing, links you want shown, books you want reviewed, because apparently I didn't have a book review this time around because I haven't really had a lot of time to read. I've been very, very busy this month. So next time around we'll be doing a book review, and we'll also be doing a podcast review as well, because I know lots of people want some recommendations for podcasts and all that good stuff. So, all right, thank you everyone for tuning in, and wrapping up. I would like to thank everyone who contributed to the podcast, either by listening with your submissions or on Patreon or on Anchor or however you're contributing, especially the people on Facebook. The Facebook group is being kept active by one member in particular, especially since I thanked him in particular for keeping it open and keeping it active, keeping people interested, because I've had a lot of stuff that's been going on recently, so I haven't been able to, and I'm really appreciated for the people keeping that active on there. Thank you. So, and right now you can find our podcast on Anchor, Stitcher, iTunes, Podbean, Google Play, Patreon, and a number of other places. Pretty much everywhere you find a podcast, it's there. And I would appreciate any and all reviews, especially on iTunes, because apparently it helps people find the podcast if there's reviews on it, apparently. And it helps people find us. If you want to help support the podcast on Patreon, I have the link in the show notes once again, and check that out and see what's available and help contribute and support the podcast and keep it running and keep the lights on and all that good stuff. Thank you for listening, contributing, and supporting. May you and yours always pray with a good fire.